Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's live webinar for Path to Profits. Welcome to everybody who's in the Investor Agent Program. And for those of you who are in or have taken the other programs on flipping or buying rentals, wholesaling, or managing rentals. And they all apply to both the U.S. and Canada, even wholesaling. It's funny because a lot of, I live part-time in Canada. A lot of people think that you can't wholesale in Canada. You actually do. Matter of fact, I had a student in one of my classes 2 weeks ago that was actively wholesaling as a licensee. So you can do it. There's ways to do it. But in any case, welcome to all of you. If you're brand new, you'll notice that you're by default on mute. We all are, except for me as the officiator here. That's because we obviously have a lot of people on these webinars, usually a few dozen. So from time to time, I will unmute you. Okay, and you'll be audio depending on if it's if it's necessary. But for the most part, you use the question box to type in your questions. Okay, we are recording, so tomorrow everyone will get the recording of this, and some of you will be listening to this and it's recorded, the recording of it, because you couldn't make it live. But for everybody else, we're definitely live, so it's interactive. You can ask questions. Also, please always look at the email that Beverly sends. She provides some very important information. Typically, there's updates to the system. There's updates to the content. We know, for example, we're going to be updating some of the Canadian content. The Canada Post has changed some of what it does. They still provide the same functionality. They just changed how it looks. So real just high level here. And thanks to Manish for bringing this to our attention. You do have to set up an account with Canada Post to use their system. It's a marketing system. We don't want to use it to actually send things out directly from Canada Post, but we do like the data. The data is very good, so we use it for the data. You just have to set up an account to get to it. So if you go online, you'll play with it, you'll see what I'm talking about. We've also found some additional resources for Canada too for doing research. So they're making the updates now, so look for that. Beverly can send those links out to you. In fact, I'll ask Beverly to send those links to you in the email from the follow-up of this webinar, so you can get those links right away, okay? So definitely pay attention to the email. She gives you the schedule coming up, travel plans, and so forth. So let me go to the question box first before we dive into the content and see what kind of questions we have, if any. All right. Let's see, everybody's saying hello. So hello, everyone. Welcome aboard. Everybody, sounds like audio and visual are working well. Okay, let's see. Jeff. Okay, Jeff from the great state of Utah. Okay. Hi, Gary from Salt Lake City. My question is related to mailers. I have had some feedback on letters to individuals that own multifamily properties. I am doing more letters now, trying to expand the letters to get more feedback. By the way, I'm selling a sixplex from that campaign. Well, Jeff, that's pretty darn awesome, man. Congratulations. Let's see, thought my feedback is 3%. Okay, well, I'm not sure what that means. So the good news is you got a deal on a sixplex. So guys, pay attention here. Really, the name of the game is just using the tools that you're given. And we've had a lot of success stories with things like the letter in particular for getting inventory. Whether you're in Montreal, Toronto, so San Francisco, New York, inventory is pretty tight almost everywhere, relative to historical averages. But it's been a lot worse. I've seen it way, way worse than this. And the thing is you can't rely only on the MLS. In fact, that you'll find most of your transactions with investors, at least greater than half, are not even on the MLS. So we use tools like the letter to unearth inventory that most other agents would never have any idea about, okay? So congratulations, Jeff, for sharing that with, doing that, for sharing that with us. Thank you. Okay, let's see. This is Shirley. Hey, Shirley. Shirley says, Gary, I'm in your classroom webinar, and I emailed you my meetup page for you to critique at Elastic Owner. I was wondering, did you receive it? Actually, I'm going to look at that. It'll probably be another couple days, Shirley, but we're going to schedule another follow-up for that process at the end of this month, but I'll get to it probably within a couple days before the weekend, okay? Let's see. Miho, hey, Miho, I haven't heard from you for a while. Thanks for being on board. Let's see, Cheryl. Hey, Cheryl, check the audio on your computer. By the way, great conversation yesterday. The audio does appear to be working, so it's something on your computer. You might want to go to your panel for sound, for audio. You might have to change where your audio is being played from. Let's see. Natasha says, I'll give Beverly congratulations, and I will give Beverly a call tomorrow. Thanks, Natasha. Okay, let's see. That's Michael O'Neill. Okay. Michael says, thanks, Gary. I'll try and schedule that call with you soon. Otherwise, I've had fantastic success with my mailing campaign. I've had about a 6% return rate. That's really good. Okay. Genevieve says, Stats Canada too. Yeah, Genevieve, for Canada Stats, what we learned to do is it turns out if you just simply Google what it is you're looking for in the way of statistics, often other people have already created that very report, and you can actually find it directly without even having to go and create the report in Stats Canada. It's pretty amazing. I found a lot of reports just by Googling what it was I wanted. However, if you go into the Canadian statistics system, it actually is much more friendly, user-friendly than the U.S. Statistics, okay, with uscensus.gov. Stats Canada is far more user-friendly, and you can get a lot more data, a lot more reporting from it. All kinds of stuff, Genevieve, like building permits for residential and non-residential, which is very important in our business. So Genevieve, if you're working with flippers, always pay attention to non-residential building permits as well as residential, because when non-residential starts to dip, it's usually time to start moving away from flipping and focus on rentals. And also, if you have clients who are in new construction, they should be shifting what they're building, shifting from building single-family homes to multi-units if they want to stay residential or non-residential, okay? Let's see, Genevieve, no, I did not set an account with Canada Post. Yeah, so Genevieve, you'll have to do that to be able to use Canada Post for their data. And you play with it. Well, good for you, that's good. Okay. Just saying, met my letter feedback or call max to me is around 3%. Okay, that's not bad so far. That's pretty good. Let's see, Chris McCune. Hey, Chris, good call the other day. Hey, Chris, did you get my response to you? I think you'd send it was either email or a text, and I gave you a response to that. Okay, Genevieve is asking, what do you think of the interest rate going up for a mortgage? You know, they always try to, the prognosticators always try to project what's going to happen, Genevieve. And my personal opinion is, yes, rates are on the way up. But usually the increment is so small, it doesn't have a meaningful effect on our business. It's barely measurable. The only time it really is really dramatic is if they jump it up, say a quarter point, but they do it several times in a short period, like over a few months. That will begin to affect our business. Or if they jump it up, you know, an entire percentage point, which would be very unusual, because in Canada right now, I mean, their store mortgages at under 3%. So an incremental change of 1/4% doesn't sound like that much, but on a percentage basis relative to the current rates, it is a little bit dramatic. It just really doesn't have much of a material effect on our business. It's only when they do a lot at a time or they do a much bigger jump. And you can use that to your advantage, Genevieve. So when you see that happening, use it in your promotional material and say, look, you know, rates just jumped up a little bit, guys, and the trend is it will likely continue to do that. Now's the time to get on the market and buy when you can buy at a low rate. And if you're working with sellers, Genevieve, you encourage them to sell now while more buyers are out there and can afford more of a mortgage payment. And in fact, if you notice historically, whenever rates are down like a lot, like the way they are now, they're down in the States and in Canada both, prices rise dramatically. It's nothing more than supply and demand. The real estate industry will even artificially boost prices as they see interest rates drop, because they know that people can afford more and they'll focus more on the payment and less on the overall price of the property. So either way, you can use it in your marketing. Let's see, Jonathan is asking, okay, Gary, as far as workshops are concerned, can 3 agents run a class together? Also, do they need to all be part of the same real estate brokerage? The answer is yes and no. And Jonathan, we actually have an awesome example. It was in March this past year, and there were 3 agents that came through the training independently, and they all 3 decided to get together to do a workshop together. They all 3 played a different role in the workshop, and the first workshop had 29 registrants, and 24 showed up out of the 29. And they actually got 4 clients out of that very first one, and they were actually showing properties the very next day. It's a fast way, Jonathan, to get business. And matter of fact, Tanya, out of that group, Tanya Smitherton, is part of our classroom scenario. There's another technique we teach that's advanced. It's if you do the workshop, that is a prerequisite for doing the classroom, Jonathan. In any case, as of 2 weeks ago, I think it was, they're over 300 people now in their group. So the answer is absolutely yes. You can do it together with 2 or 3 or 4 people. And also, yes, you can do it with agents from across different brokerage companies. We used to do that all the time, okay? In fact, there's, let's see, Natasha Tomlinson. Natasha, I don't know if you're on, from Phoenix. She learned, I taught a class at RE/MAX, and she was there, and she's not a RE/MAX agent, and she's doing her own workshop. And I could be wrong, but I think she might be, she's like sort of cooperating with other agents from other brokerages. In any case, don't quote me on that, but we have agents. I used to do that myself, Jonathan, because quite frankly, not a lot of people were doing what we're doing. I mean, we're a small percentage of the agent population. So absolutely get after it. And when you're ready, please do a strategy call with me so we can go over that with you. Okay, this is from Miho. Miho says, hi Gary, I met a few investors who want me to find off-market multi-unit for sale out of state. I would like to receive your advice. So Miho, please schedule a strategy call. And remember, I've now taught in all 48 of the 48 lower states and 3 of the Canadian provinces, Quebec, Ontario, and Vancouver. So we have agents that you can do joint ventures with or do referrals with everywhere that your clients would want to invest. All right, and number 2 is unless you're licensed in those states, you can't collect a commission. You can only collect the commission from your state, but you can earn a referral. Okay, so one of the things you could do is, if you want to research in another area and do a letter campaign in another state, like Texas, for example, a lot of Californians do a lot of business in Texas. You can generate campaigns out there, but just remember, there's certain things you can't do if you're not licensed in that state. And one of those things is you cannot have a meaningful discussion regarding the property. That could be considered as violating the real estate rules. But when you get responses from that letter, Miho, you can refer them out to your fellow agents. Just go on the community site. You'll see who they are. Or just call me. I mean, we've got students all over Texas. I mean, Houston, Dallas, all the way out to El Paso, which is as far west Texas as you can possibly get, and pretty much everywhere in between, okay? So you absolutely can do that. So just set up a strategy call. We'll go into much more detail. Cheryl says, thanks, Sherry. I figured it out. Okay, great. Oh, you had it on the wrong speaker. Okay. Let's see. Genevieve says, I found it. I love it. Well, thank you, Genevieve. I appreciate your comments. Okay, Chris McCune. Yes, I did. Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. Let's see. All right. This is from Chris. Okay, Chris says, I checked your certified investor agent Facebook page, and the only person who posts to it is you. I'd love to check interest with the group about private Facebook page. So Chris, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm actually going to talk about that tonight, assuming we have enough time. So I'll bring that up. I'm going to show everybody the page and encourage everybody to join and participate and share ideas to communicate with each other. Use such a set an appointment. Okay, so without further ado, since Chris, you teed that up, let's go ahead and go there. All right. If you look here, guys, you're going to see Association of Investor Agents. The weird thing is, guys, I actually created this probably, I don't know, a year or 2 ago and kind of forgot about it because we were so focused on the training program. You do throughout the training program, you do earn a certification, okay? And it does entitle you to be part of this page. Now, I think it was in July where Jody started putting things out here. You know, because I asked her, I said, look, I think we need to start using this. And nobody really knew it was out there. And in fact, like I said, I kind of forgot. So here it is right here. So if you guys look at it, this is the Association of Investor Agents that's on Facebook. Every one of you can join it. Okay, we will likely close this off and make it a closed group. So Chris, we did look into that. So we're likely going to close it off and keep it only to investor agents who've been trained through the program. And the reason is it is sort of an exclusive group. And we want to have you guys get recognized for your efforts, but also more importantly, you know, it should be a sort of a special group. In other words, in order for you to participate, you should have had to go through training, because we're telling our investors that you're trained and you're certified, and most agents are not. So in any case, here it is. You can see we've probably got a few posts out here. Let's see, there's one there. Never stop educating yourself. Whoops, just flipped over to the wrong screen. Hang on one second, guys. There we go. Let me reduce my panel here, and we can look at this. There we go. So never stop educating yourself. Goals are like magnets. Okay, sorry for the language here. So stupidity is like having a Land Rover and a Land Cruiser and still having a landlord. I didn't write this, by the way. This came from someone else. But the bottom line is, yeah, this is the kind of thing you can share with your clients, by the way. So you can take this post, copy it or clone it, and repost it on your Facebook page to entice your contacts who are renting to go out there and buy something. Okay. Let's see. There's several articles where you can see this. You can just join it, go out there and join it, and start. I know Chris is probably. I think Chris just went ahead and joined it. I think Matt, I saw you out there. But go ahead and join, guys. I don't know how many people are on this yet, but we'd love to have you on board, and we're going to start using this. So as of today, this is officially kicked off on September the 6th, 2017. How about that? So our goal is to have all 1,100 of you out here. It's actually close to 1,200 now. Many people have gone through the original pilot program. Probably, you know, who knows what they're doing right now. But let's see, Dawn Ray just joined, so thanks, Dawn. So go ahead and do that, guys. Let's use this amongst our group to help each other out, share information. A lot of you have been sharing things like booklets and school reports across the U.S. and Canada, and this will allow you to do it much more easily. You can literally go out here and you can add attachments and pics and you know, videos and things like that. So thanks, Chris, for bringing that up. I'm going to bring my panel back over so I can see. Miho says, how can I join? So Miho, just literally go out there to Facebook, type in Association of Investor Agents, and go ahead and start following. Okay, like it and follow it, and that will get you in the group. And what I'll do is I'll have Beverly monitor it. And then what I do is usually about once a week when I've got some downtime, I'll go out there and I'll look at, you know, clean up all my emails that I haven't looked at there in a week. I'll look at Facebook posts on my personal page and on the My Investment Services Facebook page. So in any case, that's pretty much it there. What I want to do right now, guys, is I want to get into tonight's subject. So let me switch gears here. All right. And the big subject for tonight is money, and how do you actually help your clients find money, or how do you find money yourself? Okay. And I've got a really sort of what's going to be a big surprise for you here at the end. I'm going to tell you one of the things we're looking at getting under contract that's going to help you and your clients a lot. But first things first, if you look at Module 6 of the Investor Agent Training Program, it does talk about, in a summary fashion, you know, financing and lending and money and how to get it and how to use it and so forth. But what I'm going to do is just fundamentally walk through scenarios with you, okay? We're doing pretty good on time, so I should be able to get through this. First things first is, believe it or not, there are people out there in U.S. and Canada that still have savings, even though the return on savings accounts is just pathetic. You know, I mean, I've had people tell me they're getting like 0.01% return. So for you, if this is my suggestion to you, when you're speaking to your prospects and you're interviewing them and qualifying them, always ask them, what do you have in savings? Just as soon as you get through interview and you get into qualification, that should be, what do you have in savings? And if you find out that they've got substantial savings, absolutely, investing in real estate is a far, far better use for the money, okay? So that's one source of funds. So what I'm going to do is go through the easy ones first, and then I'll get into the more complex ones. So savings, simple to pull money out. There's no penalties for it. There's no tax burden, any kind of thing like that. Typically speaking, that is. All right, CDs. Believe it or not, people still have certificates of deposit. I think that's kind of unusual. Especially if I used to be in banking, and I can remember in the 80s, we had CDs that were paying 15%. But that day is long over, okay? So CDs are what I consider an underperforming asset. It's barely considered an asset because it does bring in somewhat of a return, and there's literally no risk. You can't lose money on a CD, all right? There are sometimes penalties for pulling money out. But what I'm getting at is some of your clients often will have CDs, and you can show them the benefits and the merits of using their CD assets to purchase real estate. Also, mutual funds, there's all kinds of mutual funds, stock funds, bond funds, hybrid funds, balance funds, T-bill funds, things like that. Some consumers, when they get nervous about the stock market, okay, for example, they might want to take those funds out. Now, the stock market has gone up dramatically in the last, several years, 8 years. So it's up over 20,000. And it's starting to teeter. People see what's happening, and I can tell you, I've been through a couple of market cycles, and it's not a matter of if; it's just a matter of when, guys. So, in any case, use that to your advantage, and encourage people to perhaps use their mutual fund assets to purchase real estate. If they're not in an IRA, there's typically no penalty. Okay. They can also use individual stocks if your clients own stocks in individual corporations. They can often take money out of those stocks, okay, and or cash into stocks, sell the stocks and use those proceeds to purchase real estate. And here's the thing, don't be shy about this, because good investors are not just investing in the stock market. They're not just investing in real estate. They're often they're balanced. They want to keep a balance between tangible assets like real estate and intangible assets like stocks and companies, okay? So they can cash it on some stocks, and I've had that happen before. Matter of fact, 3 years ago, one of my contacts cashed in a substantial amount of money. It was literally $180,000, all right? And we use that to invest, okay? Bonds, there's another one, bonds. Now remember, bonds, you have to understand the nature of bonds. The way that bonds work are this. When interest rates are on the rise, okay, what that means is, let's say you own a bond that's paying 3%, and interest rates rise to 4%. Well, all of a sudden your bond is not worth as much, because now investors can get a bond that's paying 4% as opposed to 3%. So what happens is that bond has to be sold, the 3% bond would have to be sold at a discount, okay, in order for people to be interested in buying that bond, to make up the difference of what that bond is paying versus the current rates. Now, by contrast, the opposite is true. Let's say you have a bond that's paying 4% and interest rates drop to 3%. Well, your bond that's paying 4% is now far more valuable, because your bond's paying 4%, and nobody can get that on the current market today with the new bonds. The only thing they can do is buy existing bonds paying the higher percentage rate. So if your clients own those bonds, they can sell those bonds at a premium because they're worth more. In any case, just things to think about when it comes to bonds. All right, now let's start to get into a little bit more advanced stuff. We're going to take the 3 steps tonight. That was step number 1, which is easy stuff. Savings, CDs, mutual funds, stocks, and bonds, all right? So please take a breath and get ready to write some more, because the next thing is going to have to do with retirement vehicles. All right, let's talk about the United States 401k plan. If your clients are actively employed any corporation that has a 401k. Federal law allows them, depending on the company's own protocol, their own company's own rules, the federal government allows the owners of the mutual funds, the employees, to borrow typically up to 50% of their holdings in the 401k. So let's say I had a 401k with $500,000 in it. I could literally borrow up to $250,000. Now, sometimes some corporations will have a ceiling on the dollar amount that you can borrow. They might say you can borrow up to 50% as long as it doesn't exceed $100,000. Just each corporation can have its own rules. Okay. Now, what I'm getting at is you can borrow the money from a 401k to make a down payment on a property or just buy a property outright. And then when you pay and you have to pay the 401k back. It's a temporary loan. Okay. And the interesting thing is, the interest and they charge you interest. Now, the interest that they charge you, that the 401k servicer charges you, is actually paid to you because you own the funds that were lended out to you as a consumer. And when you pay it back, you're paying yourself back with interest. Okay, so it's a great strategy if the market is teetering like it's been starting to do. Pull out money out of a 401k. Invest it in real estate, and then pay it back. And let's say you're paying it back with 5% interest. Your 5% interest on the payback may be more than the return on the 401k. You can actually make money by borrowing money against your own 401k. Now, there's often you have so much time to pay it back. Sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's 3 years, sometimes it's 5 years. I've seen all kinds of possibilities. And by the way, when I was a corporate employee years ago, I used to use this strategy myself. Yes, it was very scary the first time, but once I realized how easy it was, usually there's a very small application fee, right, a processing fee, and all they ask you is how are you using the money. It's just for documentation purposes. They don't stop you from using the money. They just want to know why you're taking the money out. Okay, people have used that to buy their own personal homes too, by the way, which you can do in Canada, in fact. Any case, 401k, borrow it, pay it back, borrow it, pay it back. You can keep doing that over and over again. Okay, typically up to 50% of the value of the 401k. All right, next possibility is this, and if I'm moving too fast, guys, just tell me to slow down. But I'm just going to give you the ways to do this. We don't expect you to be experts at this. I mean, your consumers will have to call their own company, their own human resources division, and ask them what the rules are for doing this. Okay, so there's no way you can be an expert at every corporation. Okay, next possibility is a whole life insurance policy. If you think about insurance, there's term life, there's whole life, and there's universal. Let's just talk about whole life. So term life, by the way, is usually the least expensive form of life insurance, and it's only for a particular term, like 10 years, for example, or 5 years. And then when that 10 years is up, you've got to buy another policy, and the older you get, the more expensive it gets. But also, term life does not have any cash value. There's no money in there that you can borrow, okay, or withdraw, unlike a whole life policy that does have a cash value, okay? In fact, a lot of insurance guys will say it's an investment, but I'll tell you this, in and of itself, it's not a good investment. A whole life policy is not a good investment. It does provide a death benefit, but it's a very expensive way to provide a death benefit. If you're looking for just an actual return on your investment, then don't do whole life policies. However, a lot of affluent people do have whole life policies because they don't just, they're not buying it for the death benefit. They're buying it for one of the other benefits, which is they can withdraw funds from the cash value, borrow against the cash value of the whole life policy. All right. And I've seen a number of affluent people do this. It's the strangest thing, because if you're not an affluent person, you would determine that a whole life policy is not a good deal for you. However, affluent people often have whole life policies because it protects their heirs in the case of a sudden death from the owner of the person that has the policy on them, the person that has the whole life policy. Let's say they're a business owner and they've built this big business and they're worth several $1 million and the business is worth several $1 million. When that person passes away, that business could be in jeopardy, because if that person is no longer there, the business may begin to deteriorate rapidly. Well, the whole life policy protects the heirs in that situation. But more importantly, they use it strategically. They'll use the proceeds and cash out. They'll take the money out against the cash value of the whole life policy to buy real estate. I've seen it done a number of times. It's an awesome strategy. Okay, and they can continue to pay into the whole life policy. It doesn't mean that they stop paying into it. Okay, and they can keep doing that over and over again. So in any case, let's do this. I want to do a quick pause here, let you guys catch up, and then we'll get into the more advanced portion of tonight's subject. So let me do a pause here and check for questions. Excuse me. Okay, let's go back to my panel. I'm just going to take a second here, guys, and look for questions. Let's see. Okay, Chris. Oh, sorry, Chris. I didn't see this before. So Chris is saying, okay, make sure it's a private group moving forward so that it's only people. Yes, I agree, Chris. So we're going to have, I'll probably have either Tio or Paul or Beverly take care of that. So thank you very much. Okay, so this is Dawn Ray. Dawn Ray is asking, okay, so you can use a 401k to buy invested property. It's not restricted to just primary residence. In the U.S., that's true. Yes, Dawn Ray, you can borrow against a 401k to buy real estate, whether you live in it or not. I did it, I mean, a lot of times, actually. It was, at first it felt pretty strange. I was a little bit nervous because I thought, my gosh, what if something happens to me? But the reality is, man, it was an awesome strategy. So great question. Okay, now let's get into the more advanced stuff. I'm going to take care of the easy one first, which is the one most people ask about, which is hard money. Hey, Gary, can I use a hard money lender? Or should I use a hard money lender? And for those of you who know me personally, I'm diabolically opposed to hard money. Nothing against the people that are in that business. They do serve a niche. They help people who just literally cannot get a loan and have no money. The challenge is it's called hard money for a reason. The terms are usually very hard in all aspects of the loan. In other words, the interest rate on a loan is often double or triple or even quadruple what the prevailing rates are, all right? Okay, that's number one. Number two is they're often going to charge you exorbitant points. In other words, a point is 1% of the loan amount that you're borrowing. They'll charge you up to 10% in points just to borrow the money, okay? Also, they usually have very short terms. In other words, if you're doing a flip, they will fund the purchase and even the rehab, okay? But if you can't pay them back in 6 months, they want their money or the property. Now, often they'll give you one get out of jail free card. In other words, they'll let you extend it once for a fee. They're going to charge you a fee for it. Another way of being the reason why it's hard money. And then if you still can't pay it off, depending on the circumstances in the economy and the circumstances in your marketplace, don't be surprised if they call in on that note. And when they do, the next step is to foreclose on the property, okay? Because they either want the money or they want the property. And the terms, again, are very, very hard. They're not very kind or not very patient. I'd be surprised. Some people I've seen get a third term, but it's usually at great cost. So the downside with hard money, guys, is this. Yes, it allows some people to get into a property that they otherwise would not be able to. The downside is far worse than the upside is positive, though. The downside is that now you're cutting in dramatically into your profit, whether it's equity or cash flow. Either way, it's profit. So when you're borrowing like that and you're paying all those points and you're paying all that interest, okay, and you got to pay it all back in the case of a flip. When you sell the flip, all that has to be paid back, and you might not be left with much at the end of the day. In the case of a rental, my gosh, you better be able to refinance that thing pretty darn quickly, because if you can't, there's no way you're going to cash flow on a hard money loan against a rental property. That'd be very, very unusual if you were able to. So hard money is, it only looks easy, it looks tempting because, gee, I can finally buy a property. Just know that the terms are very tough and it's very risky, and a lot of people actually end up getting burned by hard money lenders, right? All right, the next thing is this. They're called private lenders, okay? And I've known a number of them over the years. All right. And what they'll do is it's not hard money. They're private lenders. They act almost like a bank acts, okay? Now, they're not going to give you prevailing bank terms, like interest rates, for example, but they're not going to be nearly what hard money lenders are going to give you. They're usually it's a sort of a middle of the road type approach. Often they'll want to put a lien on multiple properties that you might own to secure their position, okay? So they're going to be they're going to be more strict than a regular conventional or commercial lender, because they want to protect themselves, right? But a private lender, now there are professional private lenders who do this on a regular basis, and they're generally they're typically retired investors, or like me. I don't have any mortgages right now, okay? And one of the best strategies for investors who've gotten to that point is they can now become the lender. And if you think about the food chain in investment real estate, the top of the food chain are the lenders. We basically, if you think about it, we're not doing hardly any of the work. We're providing the funding, and everybody else does the work. And at the end of the day, we get paid back our principal plus interest, usually in shorter time frames than we extended the loan for. And if things go wrong, we can always foreclose on the property. I've never done that myself. I thank goodness I've not had not been required to do that on any borrower or myself personally. But what I'm getting at is a private lender is often a really good way to help you or your clients get into investing. Again, you just be careful. You're typically going to be leveraged at 100%. Maybe a private lender will give you the money for a down payment, and then you go to a traditional conventional mortgage for the remainder of the purchase price, the balance, like an 80% loan, for example. Okay. Now you have to fully disclose everything. You can't keep it under the table. You can't keep it away from your other lenders. You got to disclose, yes, so this is an actual mortgage that you have, whether it's recorded or not. These guys, sometimes they will not record the mortgage, okay? They will as soon as you miss a payment, though. If you miss a payment, believe me, they're going to record the mortgage. In any case, here's the big surprise I want to give you guys earlier, all right? There's a software tool we're looking at purchasing. It's quite expensive, but if we go through with the transaction, what's going to do is allow me to offer you two things. Number one is wherever you live, it doesn't matter where you live, we can provide you with a list of who the private lenders are. So that helps you personally and also helps your clients, because you can share this information with your clients. The other part is this: there's multiple things that are part of this software package. Lots of great tools, but the most important one that I see is we can give you a report of cash buyers in your area real time. In other words, you just enter in your town or your neighborhood or your county, whatever, okay? And you can go back 90 days, you can go back 5 years if you want. You can just go back 30 days. But based on time and area, we can tell you who were the cash purchasers in that time frame, in that area. Not only give you their name, we give you that person's contact information, and we also give you all of the properties that they bought, addresses and everything. So show of hands here. Please type in your response. How many of you here would like to have access to the cash buyers in your area and who the private lenders are? Because if we get enough responses, we're probably going to buy the program. It's quite expensive, but we're going to try to figure out how to get it to you guys for far, far less. In fact, we're going to try to get it to you guys for half price, at the most, half price, okay? And it's like a subscription kind of thing that we have to enter into. So remember, it's not our tool. We're simply going to license it for all of our students here. Boy, everybody is saying yes to that one. Okay, so hold on to your seats for that. I actually just got the pricing yesterday. We don't have a written formal agreement, but we're likely going to pursue it. I just got to work out the technical logistics, okay? So I'll keep you posted on that. In any case, back to the subject for tonight. In the United States, you can have what's called a self-directed IRA, and you can purchase real estate from inside the self-directed IRA, okay? There's a number of things to consider here, but first off, I want to give you guys a name. The guy's name is Carl Fisher, okay? He owns the company called CAMA, C-A-M-A. And for those of you who've been involved with the program since, at least since early July, you'll recognize his name because we interviewed him back in early July. We brought him on the webinar. So if you go back to early July and you look at the webinar recordings, look for the one that talks about Kama and Carl Fisher, because he's the go-to guy for everybody. He does all 48 lower states. I can't remember if he does Canada. I have to ask him that because I can't remember. I've known him for 15 years, and other people in the industry actually go to him for advice. He's a former engineer, so he's very precise in what he does. But in any case, he can help your clients set up a self-directed IRA properly and actually fund it from rollovers from 401ks and other IRAs and things like that. And then you can purchase properties from inside the IRA. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, maybe you have clients who are like in their 50s, okay, and they're looking at being able to start withdrawing IRA assets or retirement funds in the next 10 years. And they realize they want to be more aggressive in the growth of their funds. So what happens is, let's say you flip a house inside the IRA. Excuse me. What that means is the growth in the value of the asset. Let's say your client purchases a house for $100,000, sells it for $200,000. That $100,000 growth, the appreciation occurs protected inside the IRA, tax deferred. There's no taxes paid on that growth. Okay, it grows tax-free inside the haven of the self-directed IRA. Let's take the example of a rental. You can buy rentals inside IRAs, and all the cash flow stays in the IRA, and the appreciation, again, just like the flip, stays inside the IRA. And then when you begin withdrawing funds, you have to start paying taxes at your current rate as you withdraw funds from the IRA. There's a lot of restrictions, like you can't be directly involved with the management of your property, like you're not supposed to be out there laying carpet and putting in windows and things like that. You can actually be involved to a small degree and pay yourself a small percentage, like 10%. Okay, in other words, the 10% is paid to you personally outside the IRA to do whatever work days you're doing. But just there's a lot of rules involved with this, guys. So just remember, you want to talk to Carl about that. Go to the community site, and you'll see Carl. His information's out there. Okay. Now the other thing too is this: the bank is acting as a custodian, so somebody from the bank actually is going to be writing checks to pay bills and expenses and things like that. So it's a little more complex, a little more involved. But the bottom line is that growth occurs tax-free inside the IRA. All right, now let's go to Canada. In Canada, already within a RRSP retirement, registered retirement savings plan, you can already invest in mortgages in Canada. So for Genevieve, for Sam, for all of you guys out there, you and your clients can invest in mortgages. So what that means is you can participate indirectly in real estate within a retirement savings plan in Canada. Now, I've talked to other investors up there who said they've actually purchased properties from inside the IRA. Okay, I haven't personally done that, and of course, you guys know I'm pretty well connected up there in Canada. Matter of fact, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. I don't have personal experience with that. So Genevieve, all of you, please look into that. If you have clients interested in purchasing properties inside an IRA, inside a retirement registered retirement savings plan, please check it out ahead of time. But definitely automatically, I know you can invest in mortgages, or your clients can. Okay, which means you can participate in investment real estate inside a retirement plan in Canada. Okay, now there's one more piece I want to go over tonight. It's another way to generate cash, or excuse me, generate funding for purchase. But let me go check on questions here before we go any further, because I just gave you guys a big handful there. All right. Chris McCune is saying, okay, I'm sorry, we got Don Reek had one question first. Okay, so Don is asking, so you can use a 401k to buy investor property. Okay, we already answered that one. All right, Chris is saying, okay, the current page is a page and not a group. Groups are different. I'm happy to help your team set that up. Sorry to be a hassle, but no, hey Chris, I agree. This is definitely a good idea. I think we started a year or two ago, assuming we would get back to it because we had just started the training program 3 years ago. Really, this has been a pleasant surprise for us in our industry. To be honest with you, guys are actually part of a vanguard. So kudos to you. You're the good. Remember the early bird gets the worm, right? Let's see. This is Dawn Ray. Okay, Dawn Ray's. Okay, just a quick word to the wise to remind: if you quit the company that you have a 401k with, the loan is due, otherwise becomes an early distribution. Yeah, it's absolutely right. So Dawn's right, guys. You only borrow from a 401k while you're employed with the company. In fact, once you leave the company, even if you leave the 401k there, you can no longer borrow against it. Okay? So Dawn is absolutely correct. Thanks, Dawn, for bringing it up. Let's see. Chris says, okay, current hard money in Seattle is 1 to 2 points up front and 10 to 12% during the term. Penalties are generally 1 point per month for the extensions, which is essentially 12% simple. So what that means is you really, in effect then, Chris, you could be paying 10 to 12% interest rate and another percent per month penalty, which is adding effectively in a year's time another 12%. So that's why I would rather people actually put in sweat equity to get a property, and like in our case, use our license to generate commission income. And just do it. It sounds like the hard way, but I know it sounds conservative too, but it usually ends up being long-term the better way. In fact, people that are paying all that interest, man, that's just going to cut into profit big time. And I've seen a lot of people get hurt by it. Okay, so now when I asked a question about the cash buyer report and the private lender report, everybody's going, yes, yes, yes. Sounds good. Excellent resource. Roger, hey Roger, yep. Roger, if you remember last year, remember I played around with that? We did a little beta test. I don't know if you remember that. We actually generated some reports for people, and it was pretty neat actually. Okay, Cheryl's saying that would be awesome, and you're very welcome, Cheryl. Okay. Gregory's saying I want access, get it even if there's not enough response. We're going to figure things out. Okay. So Gregory, we'll keep you posted. Somehow or another, I know what the terms are. We just got to figure out the technology. Okay. This is Enza. Hi Enza. Is saying yes. Let's see. Dawn's saying we'll love that info. I've got to watch my budget. I agree with you. Okay. Okay. So Genevieve's saying if you screen still, is your screen still on the first page? Yeah, I haven't moved my screen, Genevieve. So it's still on the same page where it says money, how to deploy it. Okay, Gregory's asking Canadians and IRA. Yes, so in Canada and the US, Gregory, either both countries, we can participate from inside retirement savings and participate in buying real estate, okay? So in any case, let's do this, guys. I want to move on to another way to help yourself or your client generate money. If you think about the booklet, and I think I've got the booklet up here on display. Yes, there it is, okay? This booklet here actually came from the world of investing, where we were using the booklet to drum up funding for making investments, okay? The reason why we use it now in the Investor Agent Program is we realize, a lot of agents really didn't understand how to work with investors. So we just simply took investor tools and modified the packaging and how we teach it to agents. I mean, I'm an investor and a broker, of course, okay? So I personally use this to raise funds, all right? And then I started using it to locate buyers to buy specific properties once I was a broker. It works both ways. What I'm getting at, guys, is this. You can use this booklet to help locate or identify people who have assets. They have disposable assets, i.e. something they can cash out or turn into cash quickly, but they don't have time. They don't have a lot of time to be looking at properties and doing a lot of analysis, and yet they want to participate in investing. A lot of these guys become private lenders, in fact, okay? What I'm getting at is this. You don't have to have them become a private lender. They can form partnerships, private partnerships, okay? So the money guy can partner with the guy who's actually going to be doing the remodeling or managing the rental, whatever the case is. But just remember this booklet is a very powerful tool, okay? And you can use it not just to find buyers who will buy properties and earn you commissions. You can use it to find other people who would otherwise be buyers if they had enough time, but they do have funding. And they will gladly provide funding for the right person and partner with the purchase of a property. They either can be an equity partner, okay, with some residuals, or they can simply be a straight lender. The point is you're using this tool as another vehicle to bring people together and establish relationships and introduce investors to each other through you should have your own group going by now, by the way. So that's one awesome way. I just touched on partnerships. So a couple things here. A partnership is not necessarily a syndication. In other words, a syndication is you're actively promoting like a portfolio of properties to investors. And at a certain dollar amount, you have to be a registered, right? There's a lot of rules regarding this. In fact, you have to do what's called a private offering memorandum. You also have to make sure you're working with only accredited investors who have a certain net worth, like $1 million net worth and $250,000 in income, for example. Okay, we're not doing that. What we're doing is we're looking for investors who might not necessarily have time, but they have the money, and matching them up with the investors who don't necessarily have the money but have the time. That's all we're doing. And yes, you can partner with these guys yourselves, all right? So we're not doing a syndication. We're simply looking for people who want to invest money and not time. And you can form a partnership in the form of a corporation in Canada, or in the States you can use a corporation. I don't recommend it. In the States I recommend you use an LLC, okay? So it's another way to locate funding for you or for your investors, okay? The booklet is an awesome tool. In a partnership, which is a separate subject, generally the booklet will lead to some form of a partnership being established, okay? But whether you use the booklet or not, if you have your own, if you're attending your local investors club, and every major city has them, there's a couple of them in Montreal, there's one in Ottawa, actually there's two in Ottawa, in every single city and town in the U.S., I've always found one, okay? They're of course in Toronto too, for those of you who are in the Toronto area. In any case, you should always join your local investors club and get to know everybody, not just the investors. That's only part of it. Get to know the other service providers, the lenders, the inspectors, the contractors, all of those people. And as a result of you networking and meeting all of these people, you might find yourself in a position to form a partnership with one or more of them, okay? It happens all the time. So if you're looking to break into the investing game and you're just not patient enough to build up a big group of investors you can earn a lot of commissions from, which I recommend because it's the more conservative way, and long term you don't have any debt. Okay, you're going to be operating from cash. But back to this, investor clubs is an awesome way to locate other people who are in the game and are likely to want to partnership with other investors, including you. Okay. All right. So workshops, and by the way, I think you should all be starting your own workshop that eventually may lead to your own investor club. In fact, in the States, we've got a number of people who started with a simple, small workshop for investors, and it grew, and they ended up forming a RIA group out of it, Real Estate Investor Association. And yes, they're also in Canada, U.S. and Canada both, REIA, Real Estate Investor Association. So in any case, you can form your own group, and then you'll know all the players. You know who everybody is, the investors, the contractors, the lenders, and you can participate much more effectively in investing by having that group. I just think you should run the group. I think you should be the owner of the group, okay? All right, now that's the final piece I had there for you. So that's a lot. That's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 possible ways to find inventory, right? I'm sorry, to find funding for you and your investors, to find assets and money you can use to invest, all right? Capital. Okay, so let me go to the question box, make sure we're caught up on there. let's see. Okay, Genevieve is asking, okay, investor clubs, which one in Montreal do you know about? So Genevieve, in the class I taught there last week in Rock's Market Center, to your left sat, let's see, Steph, and who was the other person there? Hang on one second, let me get you her name. It's going to take me a second here, Genevieve, but in any case, there is an investor club there. It's MRIA, okay? Montreal Real Estate Investors Club. Let me go to find out. Why isn't this showing up here? So that's Steph. Let's see. I don't want to have active now. Well, in any case, if you check with Steph Wu in your office, Genevieve, she can tell you who the groups are. Okay. Let me see if I can find it this way. Well, there's another person there. We've been in contact with each other, and you know, they can definitely. Oh, where it is, Loanne. It's Loanne Phoenix. So Loanne Phoenix and Steph Wu both, I think, are part of that group. And you can join them if you want to. Okay, and I do recommend it, Genevieve. And don't, Genevieve, a little word to the wise. Instead of going in there looking to get investors, which you can do, it's just a lot of them are going to be. There are going to be conditioned to do things a certain way, and a lot of them are trying to use alternative techniques that sometimes don't make it easy for us agents, okay? But I would go in there definitely looking for contacts, contractors, inspectors, appraisers, lenders, the whole 9 yards, okay? That'll help you tremendously, because your clients, Genevieve, are going to be asking you at some point, hey, I want to flip this house, Genevieve, but who should I get to do the remodeling? Now you can say, I recommend, you know, these 3 people from the local investors club. I recommend you screen them. This is you speaking to your client, and have them do their due diligence, and that way you can provide them access to contractors, for example. Okay, this is from Maxine. Maxine is asking FYI question. Okay, I have programs, find cash buyers now, and find private lenders now, and find motivated sellers now from Kent Clothier. Are the programs you were referring to different or the same? They're very much similar, Maxine. What we like to do is kind of put you in control. A lot of them, you know, unless you're talking about the software programs. Yeah, see, all these programs you can buy, but like, I mean, I'll just give you an idea. The one I was talking about earlier, typically just for me to license it costs $30,000. Well, a lot of realtors can't spend $30,000. But guys like Ken and I, we can buy those things as long as we can license it correctly and provide it to all of you, all of our agents and students and investors at dramatically discounted rates. Okay, so some of them are probably similar. There's all kinds of packages out there. You know, finding the private lenders and the cash buyers. There's several programs, but I look for certain unique things. Like, I know for me, I can get cash buyers real time. Like, I can literally hit the enter key and get the list right now and send it to any of you. And I like that fact. I like the fact that it's also very flexible. I can do it for any city or town, and I can do it for any time frame I want. And I get a lot of really good information, not just that person's, the cash buyer's contact information, but I also find out what properties they actually bought. Okay, and in the private lenders, you know, there's other programs that do that too. So, in any case, I'd be interested to see what you're paying for that, because we're trying to make it so that we're going to, whatever they offer, we're going to try to make it half priced on like this monthly subscription. Let's see. Yeah, it sounds like the same kind of thing. You can pull them at will. And so, Maxine, isn't that great to have that resource at your fingertips? I mean, my gosh, can you imagine all of us having it? Can you imagine what it would be like to not have that now that you have it? I'd like to say, oh, yes and yes. So for all of you guys out there listening or watching, Maxine is definitely, I mean, just nodding her head up and down saying, yes, yes. It is invaluable. So let me see what I can pull off here and get you guys set up so you can have access to all these tools, okay? Okay, that is it for tonight. if you could, each of you please, do me a favor. If you have a particular subject you want to cover, please email me so I know that I need to cover that in an upcoming webinar. You know, it's really, this is all about you. So I want to provide information and help solve problems and answer questions that are important to you. So whatever it is, please shoot me an email and we'll make sure we cover that in the upcoming webinar. So Gregory's saying, thanks, Gary. You're welcome, Gregory. Okay. Okay, Michael O'Neill is saying, thanks, Gary. I'll schedule that call with you hopefully early next week. Wonderful. Hey, so by the way, Michael, I put out the entire month of September out there, so there should be all kinds of choices for time slots, okay? In any case, guys, thank you again for participating tonight. It's been an awesome webinar, and I'm sorry it took so long to get to this subject for those who've been waiting for it. Have a good evening. Let's see. Oh, they've got another question here. Hang on 1 second, guys. Okay, this is from Julio. Hey, Julio, welcome aboard, man. Brand new student from Montreal. So Genevieve, you and Julio are in the same market center. Matter of fact, Julio, Genevieve sat in front of you to your left. Okay, so thanks, Gary. I'll get a call scheduled. I'd like to know more about financials to be aware of. You're very welcome, Julio. Just use the time trade link, set up a one-on-one strategy call, and we'll get you guys off and running, okay? Okay, Enzo's asking, is there anyone else from my office who has joined? So Enzo, send me your specific market center, or actually Beverly, and she'll show you who is from your area, okay? We generally have a handful from each area. Miho, you're very welcome. Okay, thank you all of you. I hope you have an awesome rest of the week and a beautiful weekend. I look forward to seeing you guys again. For those of you who are in Massachusetts, I'll be here all month. And then back in Ontario the end of the month here. So we'll see you guys next week. Oh, next week's webinar is going to be on the 14th, next Thursday night. And also, we have a special guest coming in. Oh, please write this down. Okay, on September 25th, that webinar, we're bringing in a guy named Brian Devine. He's a marketing expert for a dentist. And he's part of one of my mastermind groups. And what he's going to do is come on and show you guys or talk to you about how do you actually talk to dentists, language patterns, keywords, key phrases, things like that, to use in your marketing. He's doing it pro bono. All I told him was I'm going to ask you guys to refer your dentist clients to Brian, so he'll have Brian help them beef up their dental business. He's breaking into the chiropractor world too. So this is huge for all of us. He's going to tell you exactly what you need to say to dentists to get their business. And as a return favor, just tell your dentist, please use Brian Devine to market your dental business and get it to be more profitable. That's the 25th. So that is going to be a big, big night. It doesn't cost anything. We just have to sort of do a barter exchange here. So let's see. Oh, one more to Dennis. Hey, Dennis. Dennis says, can we get a copy of the article you used tonight? The article. I'm wondering what that was. Oh, that was, Dennis, you know what that was? This right here. Let me bring it back up. This is actually in the book, Rental Profits Without the Pain. So if you go to the silver level membership section, go down towards the bottom, not the free books, but the premium books. As a student, you get all those books for free. So just download them and you'll get this book for free. You can purchase it online on Amazon for like $5 or something. As a student, we try to give it to you at a discount. Well, maybe they don't do that anymore. Could be $10 for the physical copy, but get the free version for now. You can get that online, Dennis, on myinvestmentservices.com. So, okay, guys, hope you have an awesome week. I will see you next week, and just write that down for the 25th. It's a Monday night. We're going to have a special guest to talk about how to work with dentists, okay? All right, you guys take care. God bless you and your families, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.